Hi, my name is Godfrey Nolan. Today we're going to talk about calling GPT-5 via the API. It's been over a year since we first looked at the basics of calling a chat GPT via the API, so with the release of GPT-5, I thought it would be a good time for a refresher and also to see how the API has changed in the last year. Turns out has changed a lot. The chat completions has been replaced by the responses API, and that's just for starters. GPT-5 was released to what can only be described as mixed reviews. Let's take a look at the positive and negative reactions. First, the highlights. Experts lauded GPT-5's technical capabilities. Its reasoning, coding, and accuracy saw noticeable gains. Some benchmarked it with PhD-level performance in math, multimodal tasks, and logic. The dynamic router approach that allocates queries to lighter or deeper models improves ChatGPT's efficiency, can handle huge context windows, and lowers resource use. OpenAI quickly reinstated legacy models like GPT-4o for paid users and patched a bug in its auto-switcher. And in response to criticisms that GPT-5 felt too formal, a warmer, friendlier personality update rolled out. And now here's the negative reactions. Many users complained GPT-5 lacked the warmth and friendliness of earlier models like GPT-4o. Descriptions like flat, robotic, or corporate beige zombie were common, especially among those who relied on the AI for companionship or creative collaboration. The sudden removal of older models without warning, coupled with a buggy auto-switch system, left many users frustrated and dissatisfied. OpenAI's substitution of GPT-5 as the default was seen as a bit heavy-handed. Despite claims of transformative gains, some critics argued GPT-5 only offered incremental progress. Some users noticed inconsistent performance, logical missteps, or simple errors, raising questions about GPT-5's stability and trustworthiness. I'll let you make up your own minds. The one thing that stood out to me as I was preparing these slides is how complex my API calls in Python are getting, especially for some of the newer features in GPT-5. I pulled this image from some slides I did just over a year ago. This is the OpenAI API playground, not to be confused with the ChatGPT web interface. We have the user message, the assistant message or reply, and a place to enter a system prompt. On the right-hand side, we can choose the temperature, which controls how deterministic or random the reply will be. Next is top P, which stands for top percentage. This is like setting a rule that the AI can only choose from the best possible options. If you set top P to 0.1, it's saying you can only pick from the top 10% of your best guesses. And finally, we also have some penalty parameters to stop GPT repeating itself. Here's the code for calling the GPT 3.5 model. We have a system prompt, a user request, the temperature, and other parameters. Even though it's using GPT 3.5, it still works today. If you run the code, we get the following. I thank, therefore, ... IM. The new playground looks a lot different. Model parameters are no longer on the right-hand side menu and are now underneath the model. Just like the web interface, we have a bunch of tools to choose from, like web search, create image, or connect to an MCP. We have a new developer message which replaces the old system message, and we also have a new prompt messages entry point, which we'll look at in a few minutes. Temperature and top P parameters are gone, although if you look at the response object after we make a call, they are still being used internally by GPT-5. Click on the three dots to see where we can choose between the chat completion API and the responses API. Click on code, and the playground will generate Python code that we can run locally. Here is the updated code where we're now calling the GPT-5 model, not GPT 3.5. System messages are now developer messages. The parameters are now verbosity and reasoning effort, both of which are set to medium. We will return to those later. If you run the code, we get the following. It returns, I think, therefore, ... I am, plus a lot more context about the phrase. We can also use the responses API instead of the chat completion API, which gives us access to more options like the ability to compare prompts and optimize prompts. Here's the code using the responses API. The call is now to client.responses create. If we set store equal to true, then the API keeps a record of the history, so we don't have to keep feeding it the previous conversations like we used to do in chat completions. Here's the response we get from the responses API, which for this simple example is very similar to the chat completions. GPT-5 isn't fully baked yet. If we look at what's supported in the docs, It currently works with text and image, but we can't send it audio. And we can't use it to create embeddings, assistance, or speech. We have to use other models for that. We can stream, do function calls, but cannot do any fine tuning. And we have a bunch of different tools supported, but as yet, there is no computer use. Let's go back into the playground. Unlike the ChatGPT web interface, we can call any of the GPT-5 variants from the API, as well as the older models going back to GPT 3.5. ChatGPT gives us some example prompts that help give us some experience in writing GPT-5 queries. Let's try the trip planner first. Trip planner uses variables, one for city and one for number of days. It also uses the web search tool. Click on the parameters drop down. We have a couple new parameters: reasoning effort and verbosity of responses. The others will probably be familiar if you've been using ChatGPT for a while. All of these tools, function calling, web search, etc., are available to call from GPT-5 API. There is one exception. We can't as yet use the computer use tool. To see the list of tools, click on plus add. Note that there's a brand new custom tool, which we'll return to later. Let's return to the trip planner and set the city to Dublin and the number of days. I entered Dublin and 5 days in the variables and got the following trip. Note that the responses API can take some time. This one took 3.5 minutes, so be careful with the reasoning effort. A lower reasoning effort will take less time. Click on the 3 dots and choose code to get the Python equivalent of what we did in the playground. The only thing I changed was set the reasoning effort to low to help speed things up, but everything else is the same. We get a similar response from the command line in Visual Studio Code. Time to talk about the parameters in a bit more detail, namely verbosity, function calling, context-free grammars, and minimal reasoning. The verbosity parameter lets you hint that you want the model to be more or less expansive in its replies without changing your prompts. The verbosity parameter reliably scales both the length and depth of the model's output while preserving correctness and reasoning quality. Choose between low, medium, or high verbosity depending on your needs. When applied to code generation, verbosity controls not just the amount of code produced, but also the type of documentation included with the code. Low produces minimal coding, while high will give you production-ready code. GPT-5 can now send raw text payloads to your custom tool without wrapping the data in JSON using the new tool type custom. With freeform function calling, GPT-5 can generate code in multiple languages for the same task, demonstrating its versatility in cross-language development. This capability is ideal for cross-platform development, educational purposes, or when you need to implement the same algorithm across different technology stacks. A context-free grammar is a collection of production rules that define which strings belong to a language. In earlier days, CFGs were used to convert text into assembly code. Many a compiler was built using CFGs. In OpenAI, CFGs serve as contracts that force the model to emit only strings that the grammar accepts. CFGs are particularly useful for constraining output to match the syntax of programming languages or ensuring consistent formatting in custom tool. CFGs excel at enforcing dialect-specific syntax rules, as demonstrated with SQL queries. By providing distinct grammars, you ensure the model produces only valid statements for the chosen dialect, eliminating the need for post-processing or error handling. SQL as a standard is defined by ANSI. However, there are different flavors depending on the software you're using. Both examples here show a SQL statement to find the top 5 customers by total amount spent in 2025. In the right-hand side, we use a CFG to emit Microsoft SQL Server code, and on the right, we used a CFG to emit Postgres SQL. Okay, enough on the theory. Let's see how we can use the playground to add some of these tools and then see how we can then call it from the API. First off, let's add an MCP server. We get a number of choices. We can add OpenAI connectors to Google, Microsoft, and Dropbox MCP servers. Or we can connect to third-party servers such as Zapier, Shopify, or Stripe. However, we're going to connect to a Dungeons & Dragons MCP server. So click on plus server to begin. Enter the URL and label for your server as well as any API keys for authentication. In this case, we don't have any authentication, so we set it to none. Click on connect. Once you connect successfully to the MCP server, you should get a list of actions you can add, such as rolling the dice. Click on Add. Here's what it looked like in the playground. Ask it to roll 2d+1, which means roll 2 4-sided dice, add the results together, then add one more to the total. We get the answer 5. Click on the 3 dots and see what code is produced. Here's a minimalist version of the generated code. Let's look at some custom tools examples. This code uses a custom tool called code.exec tool to print hello world to the console. Although the tool is declared, no actual execution logic is implemented, so the model responds with the Python code to print hello world, but nothing will be executed. It's expecting this code to be executed downstream. This code defines a math expression tool that uses a context-free grammar, CFG, and what's known as LARC syntax to constrain outputs. The LARC grammar enforces that valid responses follow simple arithmetic expressions built from integers, addition, multiplication, and spaces, making sure that the model emits only syntactically valid math expressions. The request asks GPT-5 to use the math expression tool to add 4 plus 4. The code outputs 4 plus 4 that conforms to the defined grammar. Again, no actual execution is happening here. This example defines a custom timestamp tool constrained by a regular expression or regex grammar. This says that a valid output will follow a pattern like month, day, year at hour, AM, PM, for example, August 7th, 2025 at 10 a.m. The code then prompts the model with, use the timestamp tool to save a timestamp for August 7th, 2025 at 10 a.m. And as expected, the code outputs a timestamp matching that regex pattern. This example generates a raw SQL query that calculates the average order value for last month via a custom tool named SQL Runner. The code sends the prompt, fetch the average order value for last month and return a SQL query only, alongside a tool declaration for SQL Runner. The code outputs a valid SQL statement for the average order value for last month that your backend can directly forward to whatever is going to execute the SQL. This can be very helpful for reporting where the analyst isn't very good or a little rusty writing SQL queries. To finish, we have 4 links. First talks about GPT-5 in general. Next is an OpenAI cookbook on a lot of the content we covered today. We also have a link to the Python examples that OpenAI provide, and finally a link to all the code in this video. If you liked our video, then there's more where that came from. Scan the code and join our newsletter to stay connected with the latest innovations from Reese.